Once an isolated cluster of islands in the Indian Ocean, Seychelles has become a symbol of wealth, beauty, and exclusivity. Today, it stands among the world's most luxurious destinations, where turquoise waters and private villas define success. Yet few know how this small nation, once reliant on coconuts and fishing, reinvented itself into a thriving luxury economy. This is the story of Seychelles' transformation from obscurity to opulence. Chapter 1. The Forgotten Islands. For much of its modern history, Seychelles was defined by its isolation. Scattered across the Indian Ocean, hundreds of miles from the African mainland, the islands existed on the margins of global attention. In the 1960s and 1970s, this isolation shaped every aspect of life. The country's economy revolved around plantations where coconuts, vanilla, and cinnamon were the lifeblood of trade. By 1962, roughly 2 million coconut palms covered nearly 23,000 acres, dominating both the landscape and livelihoods. The main product, copra, the dried kernel of the coconut, was exported as oil and cake, serving as the colony's economic backbone. Vanilla, introduced to the islands in 1866, had once been a prized export, fetching high prices on the world market. But by the 1960s, falling demand and global competition eroded its profitability. Cinnamon and patchouli helped fill the gap, though neither could lift Seychelles out of its dependency on a few low-value agricultural products. About a third of the workforce labored on plantations, often under difficult conditions and for modest pay. The rhythm of life was slow, predictable, and largely dictated by the global price of copra. Infrastructure was sparse. Roads were limited, communication with the outside world was slow, and only a handful of ships docked at the main port each month. As a British Crown colony, Seychelles received occasional aid and modest development plans focusing on agriculture, housing, and basic amenities. But with a small population scattered across numerous islands, building a cohesive and resilient economy was a constant challenge. This isolation that defined Seychelles also constrained it, keeping progress at bay while preserving an untouched natural beauty. Then, on 29 June 1976, everything changed. Independence brought new possibilities and difficult choices. The newly formed government faced a crossroads: remain tethered to a struggling plantation economy, or carve out a bold new path. In the face of limited natural resources and geographical remoteness, the country's leaders began to see potential where others saw limitations. The same isolation that once seemed a burden could become a blessing. Rather than chase industrialization, Seychelles chose reinvention. It embraced its pristine environment, turquoise waters, and rare wildlife as its greatest assets. This decision marked the beginning of a remarkable transformation from a quiet agrarian colony to an exclusive island nation that would one day define the meaning of luxury in paradise. Chapter 2. Selling Paradise. The government of Seychelles made a deliberate decision to chart a different course for its economy. Rather than seeking to fill hotels with crowds of tourists, the strategy shifted toward attracting fewer visitors who would spend significantly more. The principle was simple but radical: quality over quantity. Officials articulated it clearly. Seychelles didn't just want tourists, it wanted guests who truly added value to the destination, both economically and environmentally. To bring this vision to life, the country forged partnerships with some of the world's most prestigious hospitality brands. The arrival of ultra-luxury resorts like Cheval Blanc, Waldorf Astoria, and Four Seasons symbolized a turning point. With villa rates exceeding $2,000 per night, these resorts redefined Seychelles as a haven for elite travelers seeking privacy, exclusivity, and natural beauty unspoiled by mass tourism. These global alliances didn't just elevate the country's visibility, they embedded Seychelles within the consciousness of the world's affluent travelers, from honeymooners to high-net-worth vacationers. Central to this transformation was tight control over supply. Through policies like one island, one resort, and restrictions on the number of available rooms, Seychelles managed to preserve its delicate ecosystems while sustaining high revenue per visitor. This model not only limited environmental strain, but also enhanced the sense of exclusivity, turning each island into a private sanctuary rather than a crowded beach destination. Marketing efforts reinforced this carefully curated image. Promotional campaigns presented Seychelles not merely as a tropical getaway, but as a rare refuge for the discerning, a place where space, tranquility, and authenticity still exist. The government's messaging made it clear: the islands weren't designed for everyone. They were tailored for those who valued understated luxury, conservation, and serenity over excess. The economic results validated the gamble. With controlled visitor numbers, the focus shifted toward extending stays, deepening experiences, and encouraging premium spending on bespoke tours, fine dining, and private excursions. Recent data shows annual tourism receipts nearing $800 million, a striking achievement for a small island nation with limited capacity. Beyond revenue, the strategy preserved Seychelles' most valuable asset, its pristine environment. In essence, Seychelles rejected the mass tourism model. It built its economy around exclusivity, aligned with the world's top luxury brands, and created a product defined by prestige, privacy, and sustainability. This bold pivot became the cornerstone of what is now known as the Seychelles luxury economy. Chapter 3: Smart Money, Smart Policies. When the leadership of Seychelles looked past tourism's shimmering waves, they opened the door to diversified wealth, offshore finance, luxury real estate, elite fishing rights, and an ocean-based economy. The country rewrote its economic script. It would become not just a resort haven, but a hub for capital, high-value investment, and ocean-smart industry. In finance, Seychelles built a legal and fiscal framework inviting international business and asset flows. It became known for its international business companies, or IBCs, a minimal tax structure for foreign-sourced income and no capital gains or withholding taxes. New regulations also specify an economic needs test for foreign investors in certain sectors, aiming to protect local enterprise and ensure investment aligns with the country's own agenda. Real estate and luxury property markets opened to global money, especially in tourism zones, bringing fresh foreign capital into the island economy. At the same time, the archipelago put its natural assets front and center via the blue economy. Marine resources were no longer just passive surroundings, they became strategic sectors. In 2018, Seychelles issued the world's first sovereign blue bond, raising US $15 million to fund sustainable ocean-based activities, improved fisheries governance, marine conservation, and underwater enterprises. A 6-year regional fisheries project, SWHIOFSH3, strengthened marine governance, spawned aquaculture innovation, and launched blue investment funds to support local businesses. This dual-track, investment attraction plus marine stewardship, meant growth didn't come at the cost of degradation. But what about people on the ground? Became a serious question. The government didn't only court global capital, it set policy to channel benefits locally. Education and healthcare programs strengthened, so that Seychellois could increasingly participate in the higher-value economy rather than remain stuck in low-wage tourism service jobs. Alongside this came corporate and business incentives, tax holidays for sectors like blue economy and digital services, duty exemptions, and frameworks to protect domestic interests. The idea: local ownership of tourism profits and investment returns, not just foreign profit extraction. Foreign citizens willing to invest US $1 million or more in a business became eligible for citizenship, a strategic move designed to guide capital into the economy under controlled conditions while ensuring applicants commit and integrate. The regulatory overhaul in 2022 clarified which economic activities foreigners can engage in and introduced stronger screening to ensure alignment with national goals. In effect, Seychelles crafted a multi-layered strategy: high-end tourism, offshore finance, real estate capital, blue economy innovation, and domestic capacity building all worked together. The result is a nation leveraging remoteness, exclusivity, and abundant ocean space, not just for escape, but for wealth creation and policy innovation. Chapter 4: Challenges and the Future of Luxury. As the high-end model of the Seychelles economy matures, subtle cracks are beginning to emerge, and the path forward looks just as strategic as the breakthrough years that defined the nation's transformation. The very model that brought prosperity now comes with inherent vulnerabilities that must be managed with foresight and care. First and foremost, Seychelles remains heavily dependent on tourism. This sector contributes directly or indirectly to over 20% of GDP, with a wide network of ancillary services from transportation and hospitality to retail and local crafts tied to its health. Such reliance creates significant exposure to global shocks. Economic slowdowns in key markets like Europe, health crises such as pandemics, or severe storms can quickly ripple through the island's economy. Adding to the risk is climate change. Rising sea levels, coral bleaching, coastal erosion, and increasingly extreme weather events threaten the very assets that underpin the luxury economy: pristine beaches, turquoise waters, and untouched landscapes. Without careful management, these environmental threats could undermine the appeal that makes Seychelles unique. Another challenge lies in the social dimension of exclusivity. Branding the islands as a luxury paradise for the world's elites risks creating perceptions of exclusion among the local population. The critical balance is ensuring that the premium tourism product coexists with broad-based local benefit. Local vendors, workers, and communities must actively participate in the economy, not just serve visiting guests. If residents feel marginalized, social tension may grow, creating political and economic risks. On the sustainability and innovation front, Seychelles is taking proactive measures. Programs like the Sustainable Tourism Label encourage hotels and operators to adopt energy efficiency, waste management, and ecological best practices. At the same time, digital transformation and infrastructure upgrades are becoming essential. Smart visitor management systems, ecological monitoring technologies, and improved business environment policies aim to future-proof the luxury economy, ensuring it remains competitive and resilient. Looking further ahead, Seychelles has articulated a large, ambitious vision: becoming a fully developed high-income nation by 2033. Strategic frameworks, including the World Bank Group Country Partnership Framework for 2025-2030, align with this goal, emphasizing inclusive growth, job creation, climate adaptation, and resilience to shocks. In short, Seychelles' luxury economy is not a guaranteed success. Its continuation depends on confronting vulnerabilities, from climate risks and global shocks to social inclusion, while evolving through sustainable practices, digital innovation, and forward-looking policies. The coming decade will reveal whether Seychelles can transform from a celebrated luxury escape into a truly resilient, high-income island nation. Seychelles proved that luxury and sustainability can coexist, turning isolation into opportunity. From coconut fields to five-star resorts, it showed that progress comes from vision, not size. What lessons can your country learn? Share your thoughts. Like this video and subscribe to Africa Revealed for more powerful stories across the continent.